Good morning. It's Tuesday, July 28th. I'm Tim Pham. Let's get to Jenny Power with a first look at your weather forecast for us. So Jenny, gosh, this time of year, fire danger is always top of mind. We know that, but will we see that fire risk today?
You know, Tim, we are actually going to be dealing with some elevated fire risk this afternoon, and it's because of the combination of dry conditions, which we have seen several days in a row of. But now this afternoon, we do see a dry cold front moving through, which is expected to pick up our winds, especially in central Washington. So as far as what we're waking up to right now, it's a fairly mild start here. Clear conditions. We are still dealing with some of that smoke and haze. We can see it through this live look over downtown Spokane. 59 degrees is our current temperature. As we take a look throughout the region, we're at 58 degrees in Coeur d'Alene, 60 degrees in Moses Lake, and seeing much cooler temperatures for the Palouse as well as north to Sandpoint, Idaho. Our winds have been fairly calm to get things started, coming mostly from the south here at about 5 to 10 miles per hour sustained. And even though we are seeing some of that smoke and haze outside, we are actually waking up to these widespread moderate air quality conditions for much of central and eastern Washington and North Idaho. However, we do still have air quality alerts in place until Wednesday morning for all of these counties that are shaded in gray because of the potential of our air quality dipping into the unhealthy realm, and that's when it impacts everyone. So if you are especially sensitive to worsened air quality, you might want to consider spending more time indoors rather than outdoors today. Moving forward, it is going to be mostly dry here. Temperatures this afternoon are going to be pretty on par with our normal for this time of year. Mid to upper 80s is what we're looking at, but winds are expected to ramp up early afternoon through this evening, gusts about 20 to 30 miles per hour. I'll look at the timing of that in my extended forecast, but I do want to get you out the door with what we are seeing out on your traffic impacts, starting with a live look at I-90 and Arthur. At this hour, traffic volumes are still low. We've got mostly dry road conditions. Overall, things are moving pretty smoothly. Taking a look across the rest of the region, this puts us out toward I-90 and Flora, where we're seeing a very similar traffic pattern here. Low traffic volume, no major collisions to report to you at this hour. So if you are headed out soon, we're in the green. You're good to go across the board. Tim?
What we'd like to see. Well, 1 year after receiving 4 consecutive life sentences for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students, Brian Kohberger is asking a court to allow him to withdraw his guilty plea and challenge his convictions. Court documents filed yesterday accuses his former defense attorney of pressuring him into pleading guilty. He claims he was coerced into falsely confessing through misinformation and alleges his attorney failed to disclose potentially exculpatory evidence. During sentencing, Kohberger told the court he understood his plea and that he was entering it voluntarily. Kaylee Consalvis's sister Aubrey released a statement. She expressed frustration that the man convicted of silencing Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana continues to have a platform. She says in part, quote, "This isn't a Netflix documentary. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This isn't entertainment. This is my life. These were real people, and every time this case is dragged back into the spotlight because of another filing another theory or another attempt to rewrite history, families like mine are forced to relive the worst day of our lives." Coming up in our next half hour, we are going more in depth into this petition. We are also hearing from an expert on what could happen if the guilty plea gets withdrawn. This morning, we know the identity of the 3 people killed at the Seattle Center over the weekend. 44-year-old Carlos Villalba, 56-year-old Ashley Whitehead, and 19-year-old Junior C. Semo. Court documents show that Semo was one of the 3 people who exchanged gunfire during the Bite of Seattle. Madeline Carter was at the vigil last night to honor and remember the victims.
If we could just have a moment of silence.
A somber moment at Seattle Center. Family shedding tears, a community showing up strong.
We're, grieving.
The night after a mass shooting.
I know what it feels like to have that empty seat at the table, at the dinner table.
Aaron Murphy Payne lost his own son to gun violence in 2024 and organized this candlelight vigil to shine a light on the 3 lives lost. Ashley Whitehead was 56 years old, described by friends as a lover of life, art, and family, at Bite of Seattle with her daughter when she was shot and later died in surgery. Carlos Villalba was 44, a devoted husband and father of 3. A close friend describes him as one of the best people on the planet. Junior C. Sumo was just 19 years old. Court documents say he was one of the 3 people who exchanged gunfire at Seattle Center.
Enough is enough!
Enough is enough!
Anger, frustration, and sadness shared by the community and those leading it.
I'm here right now to express commitment, to express solidarity, and to say that I stand with you.
And I want you to know that we're with you today. This police department is part of your community.
Together, shining a light on the lives that should never have been lost.
I hope they walk away with hope. HOPE, hearing other people's experiences.
Seattle police believes 3 people were involved in the shooting: a 15-year-old who was in custody, a 19-year-old who died from his injuries, and a third unknown person who is still at large. They are still asking anyone with information to contact Seattle police. Tracking wildfires burning across the inland northwest, the Ptarmigan fire northwest of Mazama has burned 2,500 acres and is 0% contained. Fire officials say there is not any immediate threat to residents. It's believed the fire was started by lightning. Firefighters with Washington DNR are battling the Sinlahican fire burning in Okanagan County. DNR says the fire is burning along the Sinlahican mainline road. So far, this fire has grown to more than 940 acres. Right now, there are level 2 be ready evacuations in place for those along Cecile Creek Road. 2 fires are still burning on the Colville Reservation, the Maudwright Fire and the Kaiser Canyon Fire. Let's start with the Maudwright Fire. So far, it has burned more than 9,300 acres. It is still 63% contained. This morning, level 3 go now evacuations are in place for the Kewah area. The Kaiser Canyon Fire has burned more than 124,000 acres and is now 16% contained. This is the biggest fire burning in Washington right now. Level 3 go now and level 2 be ready evacuations are in place for most of the area. Some of the roads are still closed because of the fire. Forward progress on the Little Baldy fire has stopped. The fire broke out yesterday. The Spokane County Fire District 9 says the fire is about 64 acres. They say one structure was impacted, but crews were able to quickly put out the fire and save the majority of the structure. Crews remained on scene overnight to work on containment and mop up. New this morning, the Downtown Spokane Partnership says foot traffic in downtown has increased since last year. They say visits have increased by nearly 50,000 year over year. They say events like Spokane Pride, Bloomsday, and Hoop Fest are to thank for the increase. Spokane's Downtown Business Improvement District says the busiest day was the first day of Hoop Fest with 124,000 visits. Right now, the city of Spokane wants feedback for a reconstruction project on Spokane Falls Boulevard. KREM 2's Regan Gallo is live downtown this morning. So Regan, what do people need to know if they want to weigh in on this? Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. Yeah, when we think of Spokane Falls Boulevard, we really do think of the heart of downtown. You've got Riverfront Park, you've got the skate ribbon, you've got shopping, restaurants, lots of pedestrian access into the park, which is why it's so important that the public puts in their input about this construction project meant to start around 2028. And that deadline for that input is this Friday on the City of Spokane's website. Now, right now, I do have Kirsten Davis with us with the Public Works team with the city. Kirsten, tell me a little bit about what you want the public to know about the possible construction that we may see and how that input will help.
Right, so many times, people don't realize that they have a voice in this process, and it comes much earlier than the construction starts. So this is the time. This corridor was built this way for Expo 74. So
Wow.
It's very rare that we get the opportunity to really just sit back and say, okay, how can we, reimagine this? It may not change, but, we just want people to weigh in and get their feedback before we, go through this process that's going to take years before it gets done again.
Exactly. And so I know on the city's website, it kind of talks about traffic calming features, potential new bike lane, better traffic signals for crossing. Tell me about some of those anticipated things that we could see.
Right. So one of the things it's great about the video to watch before you do the survey is that it really gives you a visual of what that's going to look like. And so, again, it really depends on the width of where the street is. We're not going to be changing curb to curb in terms of space. So bike lanes, better lighting, all of those things are all factors, and that's what we need to fine tune.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so again, that public input survey has been extended and the deadline is this Friday. It's on the City of Spokane's website. And again, construction may not start till about 2028. And I know online it says construction might be in a couple phases, just depending on timing of design process, as well as all the downtown events we have in Spokane, because we're pretty busy down here.
Yes, we are.
Okay, Tim and Jenny, I'm going to toss it back to you in the studio. We're going to hear from Kirsten one more time again before we're done with the 6 o'clock hour. Back to you guys.